War is often perceived as a realm of absolute chaos, a place where the only law is survival and the only goal is victory at any cost. Yet for thousands of years, civilizations have recognized that even in the heat of combat, there must be boundaries. There must be a code. Today we call these boundaries the laws of war, or international humanitarian law. But where did these rules come from and why do they matter? Long before modern treaties, ancient civilizations established ethical foundations for combat. From the Greeks to the Romans, rules existed to limit unnecessary suffering. In ancient India and the Middle East, codes forbade the destruction of nature, such as fruit-bearing trees and the targeting of those who cannot fight. Specifically, children, women, and the elderly were often recognized as protected groups, a concept that would form the bedrock of future humanitarian law. The true turning point for modern law occurred in 1859, on a blood-soaked field in Italy during the Battle of Solferino. A Swiss businessman named Henry Dunant witnessed the horrific suffering of thousands of wounded soldiers left to die without medical care. Appalled, Dunant organized local villagers to treat the wounded, regardless of their nationality, under the slogan Tutti Fratelli, all our brothers. His experiences led to the founding of the International Committee of the Red Cross and the First Geneva Convention in 1864. In a grand hall in Geneva, diplomats from 12 nations signed a treaty that changed warfare forever: the mandatory care for wounded soldiers. As warfare became more industrial and global in the 20th century, these laws had to evolve. The horrors of World War I brought new challenges. New provisions were added to ensure the humane treatment of prisoners of war, protecting them from torture, humiliation, and neglect. The devastation of World War II led to the comprehensive 1949 Geneva Conventions, which expanded protections specifically to civilians caught in conflict. Today, 196 countries have signed these conventions. They represent a global consensus that even war has its limits. In modern conflicts, we see the Red Cross and Red Crescent emblems on ambulances and hospitals, symbols of neutral protection that must be respected. These laws do not end war, but they preserve humanity within it. They ensure that the spark of compassion is never fully extinguished by violence. By understanding and upholding these principles, we honor the legacy of those who fought for a more humane world, even in our darkest times. War is often seen as a descent into lawless chaos, but for over a century, the world has agreed, even in conflict, humanity must prevail. International humanitarian law, or the law of armed conflict, establishes the boundaries that protect those not involved in the fighting. At its heart lie the Geneva Conventions, a set of rules that transform the battlefield from a place of total destruction into a regulated environment. The first major pillar of these laws concerns the protection of the wounded and sick on the front lines. When a soldier is wounded and can no longer fight, they are no longer a target. They become hors de combat, out of the fight. Medical personnel have a legal duty to provide aid to everyone, regardless of which side of the conflict they belong to. Humanity must be prioritized over discrimination. The focus is on the wound, not the uniform worn by the person suffering. To ensure this aid reaches those in need, certain symbols must be respected at all times: the Red Cross and the Red Crescent. These symbols represent neutrality. They signal to all combatants that the people and facilities under them are non-combatants and must not be attacked. Medical and religious personnel are granted special protection. They remain unarmed and dedicated solely to the welfare of others. But what happens when the battle ends and lives are lost? The law extends even beyond life itself. Respect for the deceased is a fundamental requirement. Parties to a conflict must search for and identify those who have fallen. Every person deserves a dignified burial. Protocols ensure that religious traditions are honored and that families receive the personal effects of their loved ones. When combatants are captured, they become prisoners of war. The Third Geneva Convention outlines their specific rights and the duties of the captor. POWs must be treated humanely. This includes access to clean housing, adequate food, and regular medical screenings to ensure their health. The law is absolute. Physical or mental torture and any form of coercion during interrogation are strictly prohibited. These rules are not just suggestions. They are enforceable. International courts stand as a reminder that war crimes will be investigated. By following these principles, we protect the essential spark of human dignity even during the world's darkest hours. Humanity in war is the bridge to a lasting peace. Knowledge of these laws is the first step in ensuring they are never forgotten. War is often viewed as a state of total lawlessness and chaos. But even in the heat of battle, there are strict rules. The foundation of these laws lies in historical documents like the Geneva Conventions, which protect those not participating in the fighting. One crucial aspect is the protection of cultural property. History and heritage are considered the collective treasure of all mankind. Ancient libraries and prestigious scientific sites are granted special status, ensuring that knowledge survives even when nations go to war. To identify these sites, the blue shield symbol is used. It marks locations that must remain untouched by military operations. The laws also strictly prohibit certain weapons that cause unnecessary suffering or strike indiscriminately without regard for civilian life. Chemical weapons, such as nerve agents, are universally banned due to their horrific effects on the human body. Even specific types of ammunition, like hollow point and poisoned bullets, are outlawed because they are designed to cause excessive injury. Biological warfare and dirty bombs are also strictly forbidden, as their impact is impossible to contain once unleashed. Landmines remain one of the most controversial topics in warfare today, often leaving a deadly legacy for decades. While many nations follow the treaty to ban anti-personnel mines, several major powers have yet to sign on for strategic reasons. Incendiary weapons, including napalm and flamethrowers, are not completely banned but are subject to very strict controls. They must never be used against people. Their legal use is limited to destroying inanimate military objectives in isolated areas. The ultimate goal of these international laws is to preserve a shred of humanity during the worst of times. By following these rules, nations acknowledge a shared responsibility to protect civilians and the future of our world. Humanity must always prevail. Like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on many interesting and useful videos.